Morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. I'm Kevin Captain, Interim Director of Community Information for the County of Volusia. As our county, in conjunction with the rest of the state, prepare to the initial steps to reopen, we know that many people are asking what's in store for our economy and our business sector. We're excited to have someone with us today who can answer some of these questions. Before I introduce our guest speaker, I'd like to thank our panelists for being here as part of the discussion. With me today at the Volusia County Operations Center are Helga Van Eckert, our Director of Economic Development. Good morning.
Good morning.
Helga, thank you for being with us. And Heather Scherberg, Executive Vice President of Team Volusia. Good morning, Heather.
Good morning.
Thank you so much both for being here. So we're pleased to be joined remotely today by Dr. Jerry Parrish, the Chief Economist and Director of Research for the Florida Chamber Foundation. Dr. Parrish previously was the Chief Economist and Director of the Center for Competitive Florida at Florida Tax Watch. Prior to that, he served as the Associate Director for the Center for Economic Forecasting and Analysis at Florida State University, and additionally has had many years of experience in the private sector in management roles at international manufacturing companies. In his present role with the Chamber Foundation, Dr. Parrish is responsible for conducting in-depth analyses on the Florida economy and on solutions to help secure Florida's future. And solutions are certainly what we need to know now more than ever to get Florida's economy back on track and growing again. So Dr. Parrish is joining us today from Tallahassee. He's in great demand right now for speaking, and we're very fortunate to have him with us today. So Dr. Parrish, with that, we'll turn the panel discussion over to you, sir.
All right, thank you for having me this morning. I appreciate anybody trying to get together and help get Florida back moving. You know, this event that we've faced has been unprecedented. As an economist, it's been both fascinating and terrifying watching the speed because it's just been about 60 days now that we've had COVID-19 cases confirmed in the state of Florida. And so we've been working at the Chamber day and night. We actually started working on a solution and recovery effort back about 5 or 6 weeks ago now here at the Chamber Foundation. We've been working with some, national groups. We've been working with people all around the state, and we've been working nearly 24 hours a day in a lot of cases. But I do have some info. What I'd like to do this morning is show you a couple of slides and talk to you about the data so you understand it, and then I'll open it up for questions. I can't see if they've got my slides up there. I don't know if I'll be able to see from here, but if they'll put up that first slide that I sent, that would be awesome. On that first slide, if you're looking at the one, it's basically the title slide there. It shows the email address or the web address where people can sign up for daily emails. And the Chamber every single day comes out with things like a map. I'll show you here in a minute. But it shows the number of cases per day. It shows tons for businesses to be able to use, and you can sign up. It's free. It's something anybody can get at any time. And this daily email will give you info about where you go to get info to apply for business loans and all kind of things. So I encourage you to sign up for that. And we really reliable supplier of info all during this situation. Now I want to talk about the data a little bit. If you'll put up my second slide, I believe that's it's a map of the state of Florida. Is that what you guys are looking at? Can you tell me that? it says COVID-19 cases.
Yeah, yes, sir. We see it.
Okay, you're able to see that. I want to talk to you about that map. That's got a lot of info on there. It's got things like the number of cases. It shows every single county in the state. I want to remind people that these are the cumulative number of cases over the past couple of months. You got to understand about this. There's nobody following people around who get better from this and go back to work, or maybe even get out of the hospital and go home and take them off the list once they're no longer have this virus. So think about this as the cumulative amount. So that number, it'll show you the number of cases, the number of deaths. It'll also show you the percent positive tests, and that's over a 60-day period. So right now, I think we're down to latest number I saw was 8.8% this morning. So only 8.8% of the people that are tested are actually have the virus. But that's one of the pieces of info that we have. Now I want to talk about how Volusia is set up to handle this. If you'll show that next slide, it should be a blue slide that has some writing on it. Are you able to see that now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's a quote from Nancy Kiefer, who actually, I hope all the chair of the Daytona chamber down there, the executive director or the president and CEO. She's been our workhorse for a lot of things at the Florida Chamber, and you can see that we ask her for quotes when we're doing things, talking about the governor reopening Florida, what you see. But I want you to see that quote from Mark Wilson, our CEO, as well. It says, if every community had a leader as visionary, as inclusive as Nancy Kiefer, Florida would be better off. And I can second that. She's a national figure that you have right there in Volusia County. I know she's been chair of the whole National Association of Chambers of Commerce. She's been on our board as well as representing all the chambers. So you really have a great leader there when it comes to helping business understand what they should be doing, how they can prepare, how they can get ready to open. Because as you know, the governor signed the executive order come Monday that businesses will start to open again. And they've really been a leader for us. You've also really made a good hire recently. Helga Van Eckert is well known in the economic development world. She and I have worked together on a lot of things over the past few years, and so I really believe Volusia County's got some great leadership down there. And I'm looking for helping you if I can. But you've got as talented a people as there are in the state of Florida down there, helping you with what we can help with at the Florida Chamber. So that's really all the opening comments I wanted to make. I'm sure you guys have questions, from me as an economist, from me as someone who's been watching this thing very closely and been close up here in Tallahassee. So I'll be glad to open up the floor now, and let's see what's on your mind. I'll try my best to answer your questions. Thank you.
They said I couldn't dream. Called me a piece of trash and swore that's all I'd ever be. Said a bottle couldn't see the ocean. Give up. Go back to the dumpster. But I didn't listen. I made my way. And now, I am what I've always wanted to be.
I'm George Rechtenwald, Volusia County Manager. I wanted to take a moment during this very busy time to thank everybody for what's been going on, the hard work we have done here, this Volusia County team, first responders, emergency management, our public works people, really all parts of our staff that have changed the way we do things. I'm very, very proud to be your manager and to have the team that we have here helping Volusia County. And I just want everyone to know, as we move into, I believe, more of a recovery phase, heading towards normal life, that we remain committed and we'll keep doing that great work that we've done so far to get us to what really will be, I believe, a better normal. Again, thank you for all your hard work.
Every day, Florida's courageous first responders work together to keep Florida safe during all types of hazards, including wildfires near homes and communities. Florida's first responders are asking for your help to increase safety and accessibility during wildfires with 3 easy steps. Create a clean, fire-resistant space around the home. Make a family evacuation plan and evacuate early when wildfire is near. For more, visit floridaforestservice.com or wildlandfirersg.org.
One of the questions that we can start with is, speaking of Volusia County and COVID-19, is the virus slowing here, and how is that affecting us? I mean, broad question, economically.
Okay. Well, if you'll, I've got a couple slides pre-made just for the questions that come up. If you'll go to what I believe is the next slide, it'll say something like, leisure and hospitality jobs as a % of private sector jobs. Can you guys see that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let's start from back before when we had no data at all, and we still don't have a lot of data because, we get a lag within our data. When we had no data at all, I told people to really look at the percentage of their private sector jobs that are leisure and hospitality jobs. Compare that to the Florida average and compare that to the national average. And I believe Volusia's on there at about 18% or so, if I'm not mistaken, compared to Florida at 16%, and the U.S. is 13.3. What I told everybody was, this is going to be a proxy of how bad relative to other counties that your county is going to get hurt. And, we put this out. We have a local chamber call every Tuesday morning. And so on the very first one, I showed people this. So, I think certainly your exposure is higher than a lot of counties in here, because you are so dependent on leisure and hospitality. There's some good manufacturing going on in Volusia County. There's a lot of other good stuff as well. Certainly, the more diversified your economy is, and in this case, because this disease specifically hits leisure and hospitality jobs the hardest of any of them, then you are going to get hurt a little harder than Florida. You got to keep in mind that there's a lot of ranges out there on how deep the hurts are going to be to the economy. We do have some info on the number of initial claims that have come out, but it's about 3. So we've had a lot of initial unemployment claims in the state. It's actually going to be when we see the job numbers come out on May the 15th. We'll actually get, and those will be for April. What you may not know is when we count jobs in Florida and other states, we always count them on the week that the 12th of the month falls in. So the numbers we have now, for March that came out in April, only show just a very few job losses, because it's, taken during the middle of the month when this thing first started back in March. On May the 15th, we'll see a look at the middle of April, which you'll really start to see job losses. Keep in mind, not all of these initial claims that you see in the newspaper are going to end up being job losses. There's been some people double and triple, sending them in. They have to verify all those things. But certainly, it's going to be bad for all of us. There's no doubt about it. The national numbers are wide ranging. They say that the GDP, could be hit on an annual basis of about 2 to anywhere from 8, and I've seen as high as 11%. Most of that's going to fall in the second quarter. We'll see some recovery in the third quarter, according to most forecasts, and pretty strong growth back in the fourth quarter of this year. But it's going to hurt. A lot of people are out of work, and you know that already.
So, Jerry, this is Helga. If I could jump back to the leisure and hospitality slide that you have, a component of the leisure and hospitality industry is our restaurants and retail, the downtown, the beachfront facilities, and with the phased approach now allowing some of those to be able to open on a partial basis. I mean, do you see a long-term recovery for tourism? Should we see some improvement in that with these things opening now?
That's a great question. You will see some improvement when people go to work. And, the way I read the governor's proclamation was that, 25% of indoor restaurant capacity, and then it seems unlimited outdoor if you properly space. And so I would assume that, cities and counties are going to be asked for, hey, give me a waiver to where I can put some tables in my parking lot to feed people outdoors. I think that's a reasonable thing. So you will see a lot of those people go back to work. And I believe that what we'll do, this, I keep hearing the term 14 days. So the White House came out with their recommendations. Are we going down in numbers over the next 14 days? I have a feeling that the governor's going to look at this, and if 14 days after this phase 1, if we haven't seen any big issues, that we'll expand that 25%, even maybe to 50%, maybe more. So we're only a few days away from some people going back to work on Monday, maybe a couple of weeks from additional ones. But certainly, you got to remember, it's not just tourism in that leisure and hospitality. Maybe the other folks, I know Helga knows this, but it's you taking your family out. That's not counted in tourism, you traveling in the state. These are people from other states and other countries that are at the actual tourism numbers. So, just being tired of sitting at home, wanting to take your family out to eat. I believe there's going to be a pretty big demand out there, and the restaurants are going to be full as the regulations will allow them. And I think, if things go well, in a couple of months, we can, hit 75 or maybe even 100% capacity.
Good morning, Jerry. This is Heather Schuberg. Given that we have such a strong tax base in Florida related to leisure and hospitality, what parts of Florida do you think are going to be the most impacted from the recovery of COVID?
Yeah, that's a great question. I've been looking at the state level taxes. Where do we get our money from? And you got to think about this. About 77% of Florida's general revenue comes from sales and use taxes. So that's the money the legislature spends on education and health care and all those things that, your legislator comes home and says, hey, I got us a program, or I got us a park, or, it's where all that kind of money comes from, is, not just education, not just health care. I've been looking at it. We're dependent on people spending money. Where are they spending it now? They're spending it in the grocery store, and that's great. Great for the grocers. They're buying some non-taxable goods, kind of like toilet paper and those kind of things those are taxable. Let me be clear. They're buying some taxable goods like toilet paper, but non-prepared food is not taxable, something that you take and have to prepare at home. And so you're going to lose state and local taxes on that. Almost everything else, spending has gone down. Certainly gasoline has gone down. The big hits have been taken in clothing and furniture and those kind of things. So, and automobiles. You got to understand, automobiles are the top tax, yield in the state of Florida. It's about $4 billion a year at the state level. And I guarantee you it's a big part of your county budget as well. You have to look at what the local option sales taxes are down there and get those numbers. But, we're moving from, the only thing that's growing substantially is two things. One is groceries. Some of that's taxable. General merchandise stores like Targets and Walmarts are doing really well. Most of that stuff is taxable unless they're buying groceries. So let's be blunt here. The state's going to take a hit. Your county's going to take a hit, and people are going to be looking to recover those sales taxes. However, the good news is this: we're seeing some drugs that are coming through the trials, maybe good treatments for this. And the more comfortable people feel like, okay, I could still get this before there's a vaccine. But once there's a good, solid treatment that my doctor can get and I can feel comfortable about getting out again, there's a whole lot of pent-up demand to get back out and get things back to normal.
Dr. Parrish, this is Kevin Captain. Do you think Governor DeSantis was correct in his decision to begin reopening Florida?
That's a great question. And that was after his press conference. That's the most common question I got by text, by phone, by email. That's a great question. I really think that he took a super conservative approach. I really like what he did. And yes, I believe he did the right thing. You got to remember about 60% of the cases of COVID-19 happened in 3 counties in this state, and about 60% of the growth over the last couple of weeks. When we want to look at a couple of weeks of growth, came from Broward, Miami, and Dade County. So holding them back from phase 1 opening, I think, was the right thing. Getting Florida open, I think, is the right thing. I mean, it's good for people's psyche. It's good for business. It's good for everything. Honestly, he was probably a little more conservative than I would have been, opening up restaurants at only 25% capacity, plus still continuing the takeouts and those kind of things. You got to understand. I've looked at a lot of different states. All these states. I did something last night for our CEO, looking at some other states like Pennsylvania and Illinois. And when you peg everything to the 100, the day you get your 100th case is kind of a key in the epidemiological world. Florida has experienced much, much less growth than Pennsylvania and Michigan and especially New York and those kind of states. We actually, we're behind the curve and have managed to flatten the curve substantially better than any big state that I've seen. Maybe some of the small states that are sparsely populated did better than us. I don't know the answer to that, but I believe he did the right thing. I believe it's good for everybody to get back to as normal a situation as we can. And honestly, I might have gone to 33 or 40%, or maybe even 50% on restaurants. But I'm glad to see things opening back up. It gives people hope that, that's, a lot of people, that's what we need, to feel comfortable and get out. And now I think it's a good time because, some more of the tests are available. The masks and the PPE are more available now. So I think I think he's done a really good job here.
That was some really good information. And as we move into the recovery phases, by working together, we can pave a path to a positive future. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Take care and stay safe.
Stay connected with the latest Volusia County news, events, and updates on our social media channels. Like and follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Catch up with previous stories on YouTube, or just head over to our website, volusia.org.